KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM with the Ask Brien radio show. Brien spelled with an E. So many people always ask me. Actually, before that, let me introduce my co-host, Traci. Are you there?
I am here. Hello, everybody.
Again, he's playing this little game. He likes to turn the volume on, turn the volume off, on, off, on.
Preemptive. Just a little.
See? Do it again.
Do what?
I'm waiting for him to move it. When he moves the volume, then I go.
No, just wait for you to scream.
No, I'm not going to scream. I'll wait till he takes his hand off the remote.
If it leaves.
Anyway, you're listening to the Ask Brien radio show. Each week we have a business show where we try to introduce something to business owners, either teach them a lesson, have somebody that was an CEO or somebody that specializes in a specific area of business to try to teach something to our listeners. And as usual, everybody asks why Ask Brien is spelled with an E, and we always try to figure that out. The engineer that begins with an E, sometimes he gets excited, that begins with an E, sometimes he's enthusiastic, that begins with an E, but he always comes up with these things about the E's. So why is Ask Brien spelled with an E?
Well, let me tell you why. Well, a couple of them. Well, one, there's a couple of words that have to do with almost like a thematic of the Ask Brien radio show. And he actually gave away 3 of them. It was excitement and enthusiasm, which,
What is that?
Just being excited and enthusiastic, just having joy and, that would include some screaming.
I would think of P like passion.
That too. That works. He did say engineer, and he knows that's my favorite one, so he doesn't give it to me.
Well, because you're an engineer wannabe.
Not a wannabe, I am an engineer.
An engineer what? Like a choo-choo train?
Not kind. Not kind. Not kind.
He's not kind, indeed. But there are other words.
That doesn't begin with an E, Traci. It's an N and a K.
Yeah, well, it's still not kind.
I gave him a softball for that one, and he didn't even grab it.
What?
Empathy.
Emphatic.
Oh, he was trying to set me up with that. No, you weren't being empathetic.
I said not kind, and you should have said, well, you're not being empathetic.
True. Well, I didn't want to butt in. I didn't want to butt in.
Butt in? The entire speech here is butting in.
He's probably scared.
What?
He's scared of you at this point.
Very.
Well, it has an inferiority complex, but that also doesn't begin with an E.
It starts with an I. Anyways, there's a couple other words that we haven't done. One of them is effort because...
none of those words are on the FCC list, right?
No.
Oh,
no, they're not.
Right,
trust me, I would know. It is effort because we all give 110% effort in what we do here in the Ask Brien show. Another one we have is excellence because we exude nothing but excellence here on the show as well.
Is that like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
Excellent, yeah. Well, that one works. Let's see. We also have experts because everybody we bring onto the show is an expert in a field of whichever field they're in.
Except for the engineer.
I am an expert. I'm an expert of engineering.
How many years experience do you have?
About 3.
That's an expert?
Works.
What did we say beginning of the show?
50.
2,000 hours. 10. Remember?
10,000.
Do we have to go over that?
Well, considering...
That's 5 years.
Almost there. 2 years away.
2 years you'll be an expert.
Traci, he's really getting me here.
Right now you're an assistant.
It's unacceptable with a U.
He's an assistant expert.
Okay. What? An assistant to the expert.
You are an engineering expert, and you're extraordinary.
Ooh, that's a new one. Traci gave us a new one. Extraordinary starts with an E.
Well, it might start with an E, but I don't know what's extraordinary.
Oh gosh.
Because that's beyond normal.
Yeah, but extraordinary is also
I could be defined as extraordinary.
It's also like fantastical,
That's an F.
No, but I'm synonymous with that.
All right.
And anyways, am I missing any of them, or have we gone a little too far on this?
Enthusiasm.
We did
he already said that one, actually.
Enthusiasm and excitement.
Oh, dang. Sorry. I was just too focused on trying to run interference between the two of you.
Not a very good job. Anyway, better luck next time.
Gosh.
All right. So without any further ado, how do you spell it?
ADIEU.
Why do I like that word?
Because every single letter except the D is a vowel.
Do you kind of feel that this is like repetitive?
No, why do you ask?
All I have to say, your enthusiasm, Patty, your enthusiasm over that ado is just extraordinary.
All right. Well, stop laughing.
Starts with an L.
We have a great guest today, Bill McGraw. Are you there?
I am here.
All right. Sorry, I don't know why the engineer had to go through all that shtick, but he was going over some things, and he kind of like has a big ego. So I guess that's what it's all about. But anyway, without any further ado, Bill, what is your background? I mean, I know where you're currently working right now and products and services you're working on. We discussed that.
Yep.
But how did you start your career, and how did you get to where you are? And then we'll tell everybody what you're doing.
Well, if I'm going to keep with the theme, maybe I can add another E word, and that would be entrepreneur. So,
Okay.
and what do you think about that? So,
Well, I think we should
know,
add
I love it.
in
You get-
e-commerce as well. But okay.
Noted.
and e-commerce, and also some enterprise software. So a lot of technology and a lot of things in that area. So I've been doing early stage companies. Oh, there's another E, early stage companies. So probably for the last.
And you're
20
educating
years.
us.
And being very entertaining. There we go.
Yeah.
So my first startup was in the late '90s, so it was all around the internet, and it was e-commerce at the time. And we got washed out to sea, and when the bubble burst in 2000, and then I just kept. My career has really been as a entrepreneur in the technology area, and right now, what I do really is I help with early stage companies. We help them invest in them, and we'll help them with their strategy and their go-to-market and how to make their products fit. And so, I mean, that's really the area where we make money at it, but we do feel like we're helping this next generation to get their feet on the ground and get themselves positioned in the marketplace and to be successful. So that's really the area that we focus on.
So are you a VC? Are you a hedge fund? Are you an accelerator? Which category?
So
would you
we are how we position ourselves is we will write checks, but primarily what we do is we aggregate other investors. So we will bring I've got two partners, and we have a strategy component. So we look ahead into where the trends are going and where we think that there's opportunities for investment. I do the capital formation, so the sort of the things you're talking about, the hedge fund and the investments and all of the things that will allow the companies to have enough resources to scale and to go to market. And then I have another partner that really focuses on the business model and making sure that these guys execute, and that whatever money that we raise, that it gets used properly, and that that the companies are structured correctly and are able to use that. It's one thing to have a promise and say, yeah, we see this opportunity, we're going to go and go after it, but then you actually have to execute and you have to make it happen. And that's what my third partner does. So we do strategy, we get the money for them, and then we actually help them to execute.
So are you bringing the money directly to the startup, or are you taking the money in and then investing in the startup?
We'll do both. There's a number of ways that we can provide that funding to them. So there'll be we have high net worth investors that are part of our partnership and our network. We'll reach out to investment banks and we'll partner with them. And we will, as a firm, we will write checks on our own. And smaller checks, early stage, when sometimes it's just an idea. So we like to get in early. We like to get work with the entrepreneur and with their vision of where things are going to go and what their passion is. And typically they've got a big idea. They think the world's changing in a certain way, and we help them articulate that and put that into more of a strategic plan, and then we help them from there. So we'll when we invest, we really will take an early position, and then obviously what we try and do then is scale that up, and then we've got we'll come in at a very low valuation for these companies, and then we'll be able to make our money as they grow and as they become successful. That way we're aligned with the company, so we're not just taking money. We're actually, if they're successful, then we're successful, and that's really the model that we try and execute on.
Now, do you take management positions in the companies, or you board positions, or you just
either? It really depends on the situation. Typically, in my case, I'll go in if the company's a little bit more mature. I'll go in as a acting president, as an example, and that way I'll work directly with the CEO, who is normally the founder. And why we need to do that is there needs to be some accountability to bringing the money in and how things get executed. So we can, for instance, if a company is doing a raise, may come in as a acting president. We'll help them get their product in place. We'll help them get the funding in place. As they start to execute, I'll step aside, possibly go on the board. That's always an option. But there's never a conflict with the founder. They know that we're there to support them, and I'm not looking for his job. So he can relax, he can focus on what he needs to do, and we can do the execution part on their operations and make all of that happen. Get the money in, get them on the right track, and then step away. So yeah, we will take board seats and advisory board and sometimes take that management position as well.
And what are the criteria, qualifications that you're looking for before you make an investment? Are there certain parameters you have? Has to be.
Yeah, there's a thing in the business. It's always called the 3 T's. So it's team, it's technology, and it's traction. So the biggest one is the team. So there's no shortage of great ideas out there. There's no shortage of enthusiastic people that think they've got the next big thing. And we want that. We want that passion. But you also want someone that's practical and either has done this before or has the right temperament, because it's a hard task. If you're going to be a founder, you need to be not just passionate but willing to put the work in. From the technology, we're really focused on the tech, and in today's world, that's those are the things that are driving high valuations, and you can really create value using that technology. The traction part of it, you want them to be able to what we call product market fit, or the customer discovery. They need to get out and not just have this idea. They need to validate it. So talking to people, potential customers, and saying, if I built this, would you buy it? That's the kind of initial phase that people need to go through, and they need to really understand their market. That's one of the things I think that's missing, is some people will get an idea and they'll race after that idea, but they've never really validated in the market that somebody's going to buy it, that people will pay you money for this. So those are the 3 criteria that we generally use for deciding whether or not we want to work with a firm or a company or a startup.
How do you know, so if somebody doesn't have experience or hasn't done it before, how do you know they're qualified? I mean, what a degree doesn't mean much. I mean, for most people, if you look at the most successful people, even the founders of Facebook and Microsoft, they didn't even go to college. So I mean, you don't need that.
Exactly. No, it's a super valid point, and there's no one answer. If you're like this, you will be successful. If it was the same, if you just do X, you'll be successful. There's a lot of things, not only a lot of things you need at the beginning, but then as things evolve and you're going forward, there's a lot of challenges. So there's no simple answer to that. But I would really fall back on your gut. You need to know people, and you need to watch, and you need to see how they interact with others, and you need to you sort of just need to understand that what kind of a person that they are. And we really look at it and say, we have this idea. I use this analogy around the going on a road trip. So a 10-hour car ride. Like, do you want to spend could you spend a 10-hour car ride with this person? Like, do you want to work with them? Do they make you feel like you're making progress with them and they appreciate it? They're the right kind of person. I think that's more important than anything than saying I have a degree or I don't have a degree or I've got this experience or that experience. You really need to be the right kind of person because we're going to work with these companies in some cases over a number of years. And you don't want to have the phone ringing and that person's name there and you go, oh God, and you put it, send them the voicemail. Like, this is something that you've got to have a relationship beyond just the business that you're looking at. Like, you've got to enjoy spending time together because you're going to spend a lot of time together.
So give us the 3 traits that are the most valuable that you have when you're looking at somebody. What are those 3 traits that you feel, the success?
I think enthusiasm and passion, hardworking, and then humility. So, they need to be teachable. They need to be, they need to be passionate. So they need to, stick with the idea and really want to make it happen and do anything to make it happen. But they have to also be able to realize that they may not have all the answers. And that's the part where typically where things fall down. So, again, there's terms in the business where a company will have founderitis. And so founderitis means they have one idea. You can't tell them anything differently. Even when they see that something's wrong, they'll blame somebody else. They just won't accept that. They might need to change course. And then, you might need to do a founderectomy, which means you got to get rid of that founder. So, you want to catch that stuff early. And, some people have been infected and you can tell right at first time you meet them. And other people, it doesn't come out until, over a period of time. So that's an area where, if you looked at the type of person you want to work with and those traits, that's got to be humility is one of the ones that's, right at the top.
So how many companies do you think your company has funded over the last, since you started?
We formed our company called E2D Capital Advisors, and we formed them a couple of years ago, and we've probably gone through 20 or 30. But in terms of my background and working with these early stage companies, we're in the hundreds. So we provide some of our services, like my strategy partner works with an accelerator, and they go through 12 companies. He spends a week with 12 companies every quarter. So there's close to 50 companies just in that one accelerator. We have deals coming across our desk every day, and we pick maybe 1 out of 10, and maybe even that's high, that we will work with. We talk to everybody, and we're always interested. We're always learning. We're always trying to understand what's going on in the market. But when it comes to actually who we work with, it's a much smaller number.
What companies have been the most successful?
Where we've seen them in the past, in the short past, we've been working with a lot of fintech companies, so financial technology, and we've been working with a lot of companies on the leading edge of working with cryptocurrencies and with blockchain. So those are the areas right now where we see the biggest opportunity, and the secondary is around artificial intelligence. So these are emerging technologies that are going to realize their value over the next 3 to 5 years, and it's a way of the companies that are in there. If you can pick your winners with these companies now, you'll see them really growing and showing that value in the next 4 years or so.
You didn't mention anything about biotechnology, so is that just not within the technology field or fintech, or is it?
It's not something that we focus on, and one of the reasons is in biotech it's a much longer play. There's a lot of money that needs to be put up front. So if you're doing drugs or treatments or things like that, you need to invest a lot, and the result of that doesn't come. Sometimes it can be, a decade before you really see the results. And it's just not that there's not opportunities there, but it's just it doesn't really fit our model where we're, we'll work with a company for 18, 24 months. That may be the extent of it, just to get them to a place where they can start to scale at a much higher rate. And you can't really do that with biotech companies.
Did COVID affect any of that?
Oh yeah, it affected a lot. So we saw what some people are saying, digitalization of so nobody could go anywhere, and suddenly you're doing all your business online. And so we saw a lot of our in the supply chain where we have two companies that are portfolio companies that all of a sudden these channels dried up. The restaurants were closed. The stores were limited. So we saw this direct-to-consumer piece. So suddenly companies like breweries and other artisanal food, they needed to find a way to get their products into their customers' hands. So we saw a big explosion around that. And now coming out of COVID, we're going to see that the customer, our consumers got used to being able to order these things online and have it delivered. We'll see a lot of that continuing on. And so that's one example of where the companies had to change and pivot and actually start doing something they weren't used to. And now coming out of it, they have to make a decision about where am I going to sell the most, or how do I maintain my direct-to-consumer? And I have my store. Do I open my store? Do I have will my restaurants be opening up? So yeah, it's one example of an area where we saw a huge impact.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a break. We'll listen to KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM.
Healthcare can be difficult if you're underinsured or have Medi-Cal. Samuel Dixon Family Health Center can help. Services are available on a sliding fee schedule. The mission of the Samuel Dixon Family Health Center is to give the Santa Clarita Valley access to affordable, quality primary care. There are 3 locations to serve you: Canyon Country, Newhall, and Valverde. Go to sdfhc.org for more information and to find the location most convenient for you.
We salute our veterans who sacrifice for our freedom. Every week, we share an inspirational story of a local veteran on our Hometown Heroes page at hometownstation.com, thanks to our good friends at Eternal Valley.
I'm Richard Nunnally, General Manager of Eternal Valley Memorial Park and Mortuary. We believe taking care of each other is what community is all about. We're proud to bring you the stories of our hometown heroes.
Eternal Valley, life well celebrated.
Visit hometownstation.com, sponsored by Eternal Valley.
The most dangerous threats facing our nation are investigated, chased down, and solved by the FBI.
The world is absolutely a scarier place today.
Discover the largest and most complete collection of real artifacts on tour, spanning the most storied FBI cases in our history.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Investigate 9/11, the Unabomber, Bonnie and Clyde, and more. FBI. From Al Capone to Al Qaeda, now open at the Reagan Library. Don't miss it.
Thinking of buying a house and want a really low interest rate? Owning has a special for home purchases, where Owning pays all your closing costs, and the rate in APR is an unheard of 1 3/4% for a 15-year fixed mortgage with 20% down. This is the craziest low rate for a mortgage with no closing costs that Owning has ever done. 1 3/4% rate in APR. Heck, we're almost paying you to live in a new house. Call 833-2-OWNING or go to owning.com to see if you qualify for this crazy low 1 3/4% rate. That's a fixed rate loan at 1 3/4% with no closing costs. Call 833-2-OWNING now, because 1 3/4 could go away at any time.
NMLS 2611, licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, subject to credit approval. Offer assumes the use of Lender's Choice escrow and title services. Call 833-858-0066 for terms and conditions.
That's 833-2-OWNING or owning.com. 833-2-OWNING or owning.com.
No words can describe the power of belonging to a group of close friends or being part of a family. Insight Treatment Center was founded more than 20 years ago to give teenagers a community of friends and family as they overcome issues like depression, anxiety, and trauma. The new Santa Clarita location is a COVID-secure environment where distance and good airflow are a priority. As a leader in providing intensive outpatient treatment to teenagers, Insight Treatment Center in Santa Clarita is here to help. Call 888-295-9995 or go online to insighttreatment.com.
It's against the law to evade taxes. Denny & Company are experts at minimizing your tax burden while staying within the bounds of the laws. Denny & Company, LLP. CPAs that make life less taxing. Call 286-8860.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Like no other station in the world. Why do you do that?
Whew.
Do what?
I don't know. He does it. Tracy, you there?
You know, I actually kind of beat him to it though.
I thought she was sleeping, so I had to wake her up.
No, I wasn't sleeping. I was just noticing that I really think this time you crossed the line with Patty and hurt his feelings, because I can just tell in his tone he is not very happy.
He can't even stop laughing over that joke. That very good joke, though. Maybe you could be on Saturday Night Live.
You've affected his inner today.
All right, but we have a very important guest, and we do want to ask some questions. And Tracy said, Peter, you didn't let me ask any questions, so I got a ton of questions. Go, you're on.
Okay, so all the buzz and all the rage and all the headlines is talking about like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and you seem like, based on our conversation off air, you seem to be fairly knowledgeable about that, and I was wondering if you could share some insights in just kind of layman's terms for us, like how significant it is and what the future of it is and how it's going to impact entrepreneurs.
Sure, that'd be. Thanks for your question, Tracy. So the way that I look at this and the perspective that I put it in is, if we think back, as I mentioned earlier, I was my first startups were back with the internet. If we just see this as a continuation of everything going from being analog to digital, so we remember back in the mid 90s and late 90s where it's what's this internet thing and where is it going to fit, and we saw things like Amazon. They start selling books online, and people are going, that's crazy. Why would you sell books online? And why would I do, I'll never do my banking online. I'll never do these things. And we're in a very similar position or time where for the blockchain and cryptocurrencies. It's over the last the last 6 months or so, we've started to see a lot more practical application of these things. But I think people should just think about cryptocurrencies as digital money. So it's we digitized music, we digitized film, we digitized newspapers. All of those things got digitized, and now we're digitizing the technology is starting to digitize money. So underlying all of that, once you do that and you digitize money in these coins, and most people have heard of Bitcoin and they don't really get it, and there's not a lot that they need to get about it, except that I can invest in it, so it can be a store of value. I can use it to pay for things, so they can think about it as a gold or a silver. They can think about it as a means of as a currency that I'm paying for something. And when we evolve out of that, the next level is where all the cryptocurrencies come in. It's built on a software called Ethereum, but the point is there's a digital contract that now can be utilized to start to define how we are going to do business, or how I'm going to the way that we use the banks right now as a intermediary. We can then start to digitize that and put those agreements we have with banks, we can start to put those into a digital form. And those digital forms can be this coin or a smart contract, and that's all digitized. and hopefully that I'm going to sort of stop there, and hopefully that gives us a sense that digital money, currency, investment, it's just another way of doing those things that we do on a daily basis and in the markets already.
I have a quick question.
Well, wait
go.
a second now.
I just want to understand who's backing that currency, because the United States dollar is being backed by the U.S. Even the Russian ruble is being backed by the Russian government. Who's backing these currencies?
Well, so if you think of the central bank, and the central bank is looking at these digital currencies, so there will be a equivalent to Bitcoin or one of the cryptocurrencies that will be a central bank coin. And so what you on one level, what you get is a lot of efficiencies around that. So the fact that it's digital, the fact that it's I have a clarity around. So like the technology, the blockchain technology is a distributed ledger technology, a DLT. So now we're getting a bit into the weeds, but really it's just a way of keeping track of things. So the central bank is going to keep track using a blockchain. The what's behind it is we have to look at the what does that digital currency represent. So there's not one answer. I've got if it's a currency, then it needs to be backed by some kind of a value or by the central bank. If that digital coin represents a share in a company, so it can be a digital stock. So then it would be no different than the stock that you own now, except that you would own a coin instead of that. If it were, and when we were offline, during the break, we were talking about NFTs, which is now something that we've seen. These coins can represent a piece of art. So now there's typically a real world asset that's supporting these. Now, to your point, Taylor, this thing is there are currencies, cryptocurrencies that don't have anything backing them, and they're speculative, and it's very volatile, and you can't really, you really can't point to something that I can say is that I could liquidate to turn it into regular money or fiat money. So this is one level of the understanding of this. Is there's no panacea. You have to look at these things on a case-by-case basis and ask that question every time when someone talks to you about a coin and you say, okay, so what's behind it? Is it a community? Does it represent a piece of art? Does it represent a share in a company? And that's really the area that needs to be looked at when you're starting to move into this area, and you're going to want to start using cryptocurrencies and start to trade with them, and that you're going to need to look at where's the real value.
So, for example, Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter, he sold his first tweet as an NFT for $2.9 million. Is that like real $2.9 million money that he can just put in his bank account and buy a Ferrari with, or a third or fourth Ferrari with, or is that just like this non-fungible token? Like, is it real money? I guess.
Yeah. So he can go to a crypto exchange and he will have, like, someone paid him, and if they paid him in Bitcoin or they paid him in Ethereum or any number of, there's hundreds of coins, but there's probably about 24 that are of any value really. And if they were paid with that, then yes, he can go in and exchange that Bitcoin and cash it in or trade it in and get, like you say, real money. And that's where we are today. But going forward, there's a lot of people that they're only using cryptocurrencies now. So they never need to bring that into what we're talking about here as the real world or the mainstream world.
And then I think influencers have had a lot of impact on this market as well. I mean, in terms
Absolutely.
of like with Tesla and Elon Musk, and it's like if he's loving it one day, everybody's loving it.
Absolutely.
If he's not liking it, then it tanks.
Yep.
And so, and is that the representation of the volatility that you were talking about?
Absolutely. So there's, as in anything else that humans get involved in, there's people that are there altruistically and doing the right thing, and there's people trying to take advantage. So I'm not saying Elon's taking advantage. I'm saying people are using him to take advantage. And so you'll see a lot of this, this volatility, if you will, based on hype and speculation. And, but we see that all the time in just the regular markets. Like, you could make the case, why is Tesla worth more than Ford, GM, and Chrysler put together? And you go, well, they've got a lot of goodwill. They've got the future. So there's reasons, but they're not tangible. They are, they are what we call goodwill. So there's a lot of things around that, but those, some of those sentiments that are making even some stocks go up or some coins go up, you have to be very careful because it could just as easily go down. As you said, one day he's touting it and yep, it goes up. The next time he's not, he's against it, or the regulators come after him and it drops. So you have to be very careful.
So in reflection of how this applies to an entrepreneur startup of e-commerce business model, for example, where is the tipping point when you're launching a new business that has a robust digital platform, especially e-commerce focused, where it'll just be Bitcoin will be an additional option to PayPal, to Stripe, to
right.
Visa, American Express, Discovery. Like when do you forecast it will hit a tipping point in that regard?
Well, it's definitely close because all of who you mentioned, the PayPals and the Stripes and Square, they are all able to accept cryptocurrencies. You're able to borrow with them. You're able to transact with them. It's not mainstream. I think we would look at it again. It's all about technology adoption and when it's mainstream. People say it's mainstream when my mother's using it or my grandmother's using it, because right now we're in this early stage and people talk about the technology all the time and they talk about coins and all of that. Well, we have to get beyond that. But those, we call them the infrastructure. The bank infrastructure is built on very old technology, so stuff that was written in the 70s and 80s. This is new technology, and not only will it replace the old technology, but it gives us additional features that we can use. So I would say, and this is what we use as a filter, to the entrepreneur, you need to be looking at how will this impact your business, and do you need to be either integrating that, or you need to be partnering, or how can some of these new opportunities or features that are going to come with this as this new technology goes into the mainstream, how can you utilize it, and what are some creative and disruptive things that you could never do before, but now because of this, you're going to be able to target something or do something you weren't able to, or go in and disrupt a bank who can't move as quick as you. So that's where we're really seeing on the fintech and the financial technology side, like you, and this is one of the reasons we focus on that. Smaller companies now have the technology ability to go in and disrupt a bank, because a bank can't, there's certain things they can't do for technology reasons and also regulatory reasons. So there's a time now that you can get in front of that and you can establish yourself. And I'm talking about companies like Robinhood.
We're going to have to take a quick break. We'll be right back. KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM.
Yeah.
Be our guest with Disney's Beauty and the Beast Jr. at the CTG, Saturdays and Sundays at 8 p.m., July 10, 11, 17, and 18. Admission is only $8, with kids 12 and under free. Call 661-799-2702 for tickets. Also, we have the Fairy Tale Council, Friday, July 16th at 10 a.m., and the exciting Dave the Brave and the Pirateers that same day at 8 p.m. Both Friday shows are free for everyone. Theater Under the Stars, only at the Canyon Theater Guild.
Fruit arranged like flowers? What a delicious idea! Edible Arrangements specializes in creating a variety of fresh fruit arrangements overflowing with fresh, hand-designed fruit and filled with strawberries, pineapple, grapes, cantaloupe, honeydew, and seasonal favorites. Made to order in a size you select and ready to eat and enjoy. You can even add chocolate to any arrangement. Edible Arrangements is always fresh, always appropriate, and always appreciated. Order yours today, 253-0052 or ediblearrangements.com. Edible Arrangements is on Soledad near Bouquet Canyon.
Why did Mercedes-Benz of Valencia win the Dealer of Excellence Award in 2019?
Because we strive to provide the most outstanding sales experience.
Mercedes-Benz of Valencia COO Chris Paz.
We know you have high expectations. Our stellar team will meet and exceed your expectations. That's why we were named Mercedes Best of the Best, placing us in the top 10% of all Mercedes dealers nationwide.
Find out how you can lease a new Mercedes for unbelievably low monthly payments. Details at mbzvalencia.com.
Finding the right lawyer can be a challenge, but in Santa Clarita, there's no need to search when there's Hacker Law Group, Santa Clarita's premier litigation firm. Jeffrey Hacker has represented celebrities, financial institutions, accident victims, real estate developers, realtors, contractors, businesses, nonprofit organizations, and other individuals and companies with their legal challenges. Mr. Hacker is one of Santa Clarita's leaders, consistently listed as one of our most influential. When everything is on the line and you need legal counseling, visit hackerlawgroup.com.
This is Bradley from Santa Clarita Grocery, the all-volunteer grocery program serving children, families, and individuals experiencing food insecurities. Since January 2020, Santa Clarita Grocery has distributed 83 tons of fresh groceries to 4,465 families in the SCV. Santa Clarita Grocery is a drive-up, drive-through service with physical distancing in place to continue serving our community. If you are in need or looking for a charity to do the most good for our community, please consider partnering with us by donating to Santa Clarita Grocery, one of the most efficient charities in the Santa Clarita Valley. A full 99 cents out of every dollar goes directly back to the community. Santa Clarita Grocery operates on a 1% overhead and is sustained through private donations. Santa Clarita Grocery is at 21176 Center Point Parkway in the Oasis Furniture parking lot. Please visit our website, santaclaritagrocery.org, or our Facebook at Santa Clarita Grocery to make a difference in our awesome town community. 661-425-7575. Be our guest and experience the difference.
If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the Law Office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the Law Office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM. Co-host Traci and our guest Bill. Traci, you had a question you wanted to ask Bill?
Well, I wanted to make sure we followed up on what you were saying before the break about the companies that were effectively using the space. And you had started to mention Robinhood, and then we had to go into the break, so I wanted to make sure we closed the loop on that.
Yeah, and I think what we if we look at the demographic that's really going to adopt this, and we're talking about the millennials, and there's this huge transfer of wealth that's going to be taking place as the boomers get older and retire, and they are the ones that are much more digital savvy and much more willing and able to use these kind of technologies. And one of the things with blockchain and cryptocurrency is that you are taking out the middleman. So you're taking out people that are, that like the banks and your broker and all of those, so that you're managing your own accounts and things yourself. And the younger generation is really focused and growing on that. So Robinhood, Wealthsimple, these kind of companies that provide easy access and the ability to manage and trade and do your banking and all of that all on your own. Those are the kind of companies that are, well, again, growing. Robinhood's going to do their IPO, but there's hundreds of companies coming in behind them that have carved off a piece of this financial area that they're going to be able to digitize and, again, as I said earlier, move faster than the banks and be able to really put their products into the hands of that demographic that's going to use them and help that. That's really where the growth is going to be.
That's so fantastic. I want to pivot for a moment and talk about inclusiveness and diversity in your platform, and what things are you doing to expand the types of companies in terms of, let's say, because I am a woman-owned business, a female entrepreneur, and have been for almost 2 decades, and how is that fitting into your growth strategy?
Well, it's a key part of it. The opportunity for how we can change the world, make the world a better place. That again, that's another aspect of the focus of this millennial generation, the inclusiveness as you talk about. So gender and we look at minorities, we look at people who haven't had access to the system. It's always been, in quotations, the old boys network. Even on the investment side, if you look at the VCs and you look at where you had to go to Stanford, you needed to look a certain way, that's being broken down. And we're a part of that. We're actively looking for those kind of entrepreneurs and supporting the companies that have some kind of a purpose, that want to make the world a better place. And we see one of our portfolio companies is delivering credit into the supply chain. And their first focus it was the small, medium companies, and they're focused on artisanal food and they're focused on craft brewery. But it's more about, from a higher level, about securing the food system and the local food and supporting local business. These are all aspects of this new generation that's coming. And like I've got a 8-year-old granddaughter, and I look at the world in her eyes, not even to my daughter's, who's in her 30s, but I look to my granddaughter, and what kind of world are we going to give them, and what do we need to do to prepare her to be successful in this new world? It's not just about getting an education. Obviously, they need to be educated, but it's a new world. There's new tech. There's new things, and we as a society need to be breaking down some of these barriers. And the way that we're going to do that, I believe, is with technology, and some of the cryptocurrency and blockchain are really allowing us to break down the access to what really helps these businesses and entrepreneurs grow, which is access to the financial system.
Well, thank you very much. Listening to KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM. We'll write down on our blog how to get in contact with Bill, because we got to go.
Thanks, Bill.